Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for August 4th. August 4th is the 216th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 217th in leap years, with 149 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is ambiguous. Ambiguous is an adjective that means open to more than one interpretation, having a double meaning, unclear or inexact, because a choice between alternatives has not been made clear. Doubtful or uncertain, especially from indistinctness or obscurity, meaning that the evidence at hand is not clear. Maybe yes, maybe no, not sure, could go either way. Of doubtful or uncertain nature, open to various interpretations. That's ambiguous. The word ambiguous has filtered down to us from a Latin word that meant unresolved, hesitating in mind, of uncertain outcome, and so on. Pretty much the meaning it has to this day. First known use of the word ambiguous is in the 1520s. Interestingly, the noun form, ambiguity, dates to around 1400. Ambiguous. If you have a word that you'd like us to explore in this Word of the Day section, pop it in the comments and we'll take a look at it. And with that, August 4th, 1693 is the date traditionally ascribed to Dom Perignon's invention of champagne. Like Henry Ford and Elon Musk, though, he didn't actually invent the thing he's famous for, but discovered and implemented ways to make that thing better and more efficiently. Here's the scoop. Dom Pierre Perignon was a French Benedictine monk who lived in the 16 and 1700s. Back then, winemakers had a problem with a phenomenon called re-fermentation. What happened with re-fermentation was that they'd get the wine ready and all bottled up, stored away in the wine cellar, and as the weather would cool off in the fall of the year, fermentation would stop before all the fermentable sugars had been converted to alcohol. As the weather then would warm in the following spring, yeast that had been dormant all winter would wake up and begin generating carbon dioxide. This phenomenon, by the way, the yeast making carbon dioxide, is how many bread makers get the bread to rise. The exception would be with sourdough bread. If you're talking about dough in a bowl, the way it puffs up and gives you a nice loaf of bread, it's yeast that makes that rise. If yeast is locked up in a bottle, though, it has nowhere to grow. The least terrible thing that could happen is that it would build up enough pressure to pop the cork out of the bottle, making a big mess, and the worst thing that could happen is that the bottle would explode. The concussion of one exploding bottle would disturb the bottles near it, and then they would explode, leading to a heartbreaking cascade of exploding bottles, losing your entire year of production. That's bad enough, but all that exploding glass is hazardous to workers in the area, expensive, and dangerous. Bad all the way around. Dom Perignon noticed that certain varieties of grapes, along with certain conditions, actions, and situations in the process of growing, harvesting, and processing the grapes, made re-fermentation more likely. Recognizing these factors, he established certain guidelines that were later codified into a set of winemaking rules, later published posthumously. Dom Perignon is sometimes thought to have invented champagne, but that isn't entirely accurate. What he did do was to figure out how to avoid some pretty serious problems in the winemaking process and innovated the techniques used to perfect sparkling wine. Sparkling wine, by the way, that is made of a blend of grapes from the Champagne region of France, is called champagne. All that said, August 4th, 1693 is the date traditionally ascribed to Dom Perignon's invention of champagne, even though, well, you get the drift. The Saturday Evening Post was published for the first time on August 4th, 1821 as a weekly newspaper. Now, I don't usually report items that are quite this recent, but on August 4th, 2007, NASA launched its Phoenix spacecraft. Phoenix was an uncrewed space probe that landed on the surface of Mars the following spring. It remained operational on Mars for almost 6 months, gathering information about Mars. Phoenix wasn't the first run to Mars, though. There were 5 successful landings on Mars previously to Phoenix. One of the main goals of the Phoenix mission was to study the geological history of water on Mars. Not that kind, though. Now, before we move on to today's song, I'll leave a link in case you'd like to see what else I might have talked about in a previous episode for August 4th. Today's song is Vision of Love by Mariah Carey, number 1, August 1st, 1990. It was the lead single from her first album. In this song, you can hear her touch upon notes in what is called the whistle register. In fact, if you listen to it, it does almost sound like a whistle. It does sound like a whistle. And if you've ever heard any of 1990s Mariah Carey works, you'll recognize what I'm talking about. She also makes generous use of a technique called melisma, which is the singing of a single syllable of text while moving between several different notes in succession. Melisma may be referred to as vocal run, as compared to a syllabic technique wherein each syllable of text gets a single note. Her use of melisma reminds me of some of those beautiful gospel choirs you can hear. Alrighty, so that said, Vision of Love has been referred to as the Magna Carta of melisma, and has served as inspiration to subsequent artists and American Idol contestants. Vision of Love hit that golden number 1 spot on the Billboard Hot 100 on August 4th, 1990, and stayed there for 4 weeks. Vision of Love by Mariah Carey. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that is called No Really. And you can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Oh, get your microphone. Okay. Phone over there. Hello. Okay. With 202 days remaining to the end of the world. End of the year. Please, not the end of the world. 202 days remaining to the end of the year. Let's read that one again. Yep, it is. That's what it's called. All right. Third time better be a charm. There's no "the" there. Start over. Attracting. Just read the whole thing over. I don't ad-lib very well. You know what? Maybe we can leave that one off. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. I don't know. Can I get this edited? Let's find out. Alrighty. Back to work. I think we got it this time.